America's Black News Channel. Watch 15 minutes. Share with everyone. Finally, news that speaks to us.
Madam VP Harris this morning speaking about the United States pledge to help the people of Ukraine and the millions of refugees impacted by this war. I'm joined now by Akua. She's an immigration attorney. It is a pleasure. Welcome to BNC Live. So we just started off with that sound from Madam Vice President about the U.S. and their stance. I want to play some more sound for you and get your reaction, or better yet, that was the sound I was just told. So what are your thoughts on that? Attorney, can you hear me?
I can. I'm sorry. My thoughts on Kamala Harris's speech?
Yes. Yeah. Basically, she said the burden should be on all of us as we prepare to assist Ukraine, right? Millions of folks have already fled out of that country. Do you think that the United States is taking a proper stance and allowing more refugees in comparison to the refugees that we've seen get turned away at the border, especially those that look like you and I?
Thank you for having me. So yes, it's really important that we unite during this very hard moment, because it's a very sad situation. And the truth of the matter is that no matter how willing the United States is to take on all these refugees, the practicality of the matter is our own immigration system is quite broken. There's a huge amount of backlog, and there's a lot of things we're grappling with ourselves. But of course, being disadvantaged doesn't mean we should not extend a help out to others. So it's good. Ukraine has been designated for TPS status, and so it means that the people from Ukraine or who last habited in Ukraine and who are stateless can apply for temporary protection and can be protected from deportation, for the next 18 months. So it's a good step in the right direction. But I'm not sure what else the United States can practically offer to Ukraine. And it's a very important observation that you made, because there are other countries like Haiti, like Cameroon, who are also facing ongoing armed conflicts and who have been turned away at the border due to Title 42. So it's a very unfair situation, but at the same time, these are human lives. We can extend our sympathies to Ukraine, but it's also a very important conversation that we should have about how to treat refugees who are coming from all around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, I wouldn't care if you're black, brown, or purple. If you're in need of assistance and you're in need of a safe haven, then you should be provided that. I want to play some video of what happened earlier this past summer, right? We saw this shocking scenes at the border.
Absolutely.
So explain to me Title 42 and how it doesn't apply to Ukrainian refugees that may seek asylum here.
Okay, so pretty much Title 42 is a law that former President Trump reinstated and it was, for public health reasons, meaning that they believe that if there were people at the border who were going to come and kind of coming to the United States and worsen the health situation of the U.S. due to COVID, then they should be turned away. But again, this is not being applied fairly across board. In fact, let's take a look at even the Afghanistan situation, August 2021. This was very and for example, my office filed multiple humanitarian parole applications for Afghanistan's, and these were supposed to have been adjudicated expeditedly, but up until now, there has been no movement on those cases. We filed these cases over 7 months ago, and people are still languishing in Kabul. Some have been, some have moved to other countries like, other places within the region like Abu Dhabi and whatnot. So again, the Haiti situation, we saw very unfair treatment. The world is just going nuts, unfortunately. It's just, we can't make sense of anything at all these days.
Yeah. The United Nations estimates that more than 2.3 million refugees have already fled Ukraine, right? And more are expected to leave. There's no telling how many could come to the U.S., but I want you to walk us through the process of qualifying for refugee status. I know you mentioned your office has filed documents for your own clients. Tell us about that process.
Okay, so there are a few options for humanitarian victims. And so one of the options is, as we discussed, the TPS, the temporary protected status. For that, it already just designates a time period within which people were supposed to have been here. So, so if a country is designated for TPS status, for example, it means that they should have been here. There's a cutoff point from which they should have been here. So for Ukraine, from 1st March. So if you came after 1st March 2022, you cannot get the status, and you can get work permit, and then you can get protection from deportation. So that does not really cover people who are going to be coming after that date. So for people who are going to be coming after that date, they could have the option of, for example, filing for asylum. However, asylum, the legal standard is that you should demonstrate individualized harm, you know, by reason of belonging to a particular social group or race or ethnicity. And so I'm not sure how, you know, the US government is going to adjudicate applications of Ukrainians or people who last lived in Ukraine for asylee status. Again, there's humanitarian parole. And with that also, it allows people to come into the United States who would otherwise not be eligible to come, but based on a significant public benefit or a humanitarian crisis, they would be given parole, a travel document to come into the US. All these are sort of like temporary fixes.
Yeah.
Of course, apart from the asylee status, TPS is a temporary fix. It's just for 18 months at a time. Again, parole is also very temporary. So once all these people come in, there's still the question of how do they adjust their status. We're still grappling with 12 million undocumented immigrants, and according to statistics, even in the year 2022, immigration courts are facing a backlog of about 1.5 million cases, and there are just about 60 immigration courts throughout the United States. So once all these refugees come, I'm not sure what the plan is to actually help them get assimilated into the system.
I want to ask you one quick question, and then unfortunately we got to wrap. Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, made a comment that he's receiving some backlash for. And he said, everyone is horrified by what they are seeing, the news every day. It's almost unfathomable to actually witness it, to see it. For our generation, it's very alien to see this in Europe. We're all right behind you. You made a really good point about how Black and brown folks, some of your clients, have been kind of shuffled along in this process or turned away, better yet. Do you think the reaction to what's happening in Europe differs from what we see in Black and brown countries because the people fleeing are blonde and blue-eyed?
Absolutely. I see the difference, and everybody else sees the difference. I mean, it looks like the world is more concerned this time because there's armed conflict that goes on in many countries all the time, and you know, there's not much news coverage. People don't really care. It's business as usual, but we see the world holding hands, sympathizing with you know, Ukrainians, which is a good thing, except that we would love the treatment to be fair across board. So yes, there's this difference in the way the Ukrainians are being treated because of the color of their skin. And in fact, we actually saw also some racism being played out because there were some video clips that were shared where Black people in Ukraine were being pushed off. They were being prevented from getting onto these evacuation buses. So it's very unfortunate that even in the face of crisis, the color of your skin still matters. It's astounding.
Yeah, I think what stood out to me from what you just said, Attorney, was fair across the board. It's a pleasure. We really appreciate your time.